Definitely for your uninterrupted broadcast once more again. I welcome you to the show. Welcome to it. Welcome to it. It is time for us to make sure that before sivala usuku lwethu ke siyaxoshelisa la feature yethu yangolwesibini ithu bangabeke hashtag Frank Talks whereby we talk about anything and everything. And just before sivala inkqubo yanamhlanje, we are going to be finding out more about lanto kuthiwa ke burnout. And I think majority of us siyathanda sometimes ukuyi-mixa. And when I say sometimes we mix it, I do find that a lot of people, xa usithi mhlawumbi, yo, I'm suffering from a burnout, umuntu either ucinga uba uyagowa okanye umuntu acinga uba uphethwe into ezidibanisa ne-depression. But sometimes, honestly, it has nothing to do with that. It's just that you're emotionally exhausted as well as physically exhausted, and you're just so overwhelmed by so many things. Earlier on in the show, bendincokola about how we are coming towards an end kule nyanga sikuyo kaNovember, and going to be moving towards December on Thursday. And I have been mentioning that, personally, mna, when it comes to December, I'm a person who's really always excited about December, not just because I'm going to be working, but it's being excited about December because at least in there, and it gives me time to actually reflect as well as to even take time out to just go and relax and just take everything in. Because personally, I know ndayiva laa nto kuthiwa i-burnout. I think yiyona endibethileyo kwezi ntsuku ziphelileyo. And today, it made me even actually decide, you know what, I think this is something that we should definitely talk about, and especially let a lot of people know bangabake what is a burnout. And at the same time, are you really, really suffering from a burnout? So i-burnout mhlawumbi usazibuza nangokuba ngaba yintoni na. Now we're going to be looking at burnout prevention as well as a treatment. Now, if constant stress has you feeling helpless, delusioned, as well as completely exhausted, solo kudiniwe, you actually may be on the road to a burnout. Now, we're going to be looking at how you can regain your balance, as well as to feel hopeful, as well as positive again. India fatigue, I think, is phethe sonke sonele. Sifuna nje ukukwazi ukuphumla. Now, a burnout is a state of emotional, physical, as well as mental exhaustion caused by excessive as well as prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. As well as the stress continues, you begin to lose the interest as well as the motivation that led you to take on a certain role in the first place. I-burnouts can reduce productivity. And yeah, emsebenzini uzibona uba ngaba ke ukade uqhuba kahle kwii-deals umane uzisecyorisha, but suddenly ngoku awusenayo nomdla yokusecyorisha ii-deals, awusenawo nomdla mhlawumbi wokukwazi uphakama uye esikolweni okanye ukwazi ukuphangela. Now, that's the negative part when it comes to actually having a burnout. Now, these negative effects of burnout spill all over ubomi bakho, including your home, your work, your social life, in terms of even your relationships. And also, burnouts can actually cause long term changes to your body that make you feel vulnerable illnesses. As I mentioned, suddenly, ungumntu osoloko uphethwe yifiva, ubuhlungu icala, because of the constant stress that prolonged, as well as the excess stress besincokola ngayo, umane ucinga izinto ezininzi, umane uzipakisha emva, and that is when the body starts to get sick. Because remember, emotionally you get sick, and that is when also nomzimba wakho abone uba ngaba ke ikhona nje into engadibani. Now, question is, are you on the road to a burnout? Are you suffering from a burnout? Bangabake upendula ewe. With the following that I'm going to be asking, then it's time for you to look deep. Number one, every day is a bad day. Number two, caring about your work or home life seems like a total waste of your energy. Number three, solo kudiniwe. You're constantly exhausted all the time. Number four, the majority of your day is spent on tasks you find either mind-nubblingly dull or even just overwhelming you. And also the next point, you feel like nothing you do makes a difference or is being appreciated. And that's another point I constantly say, that if mhlawumbi uzosoloko usenzela izinto uba ufuna umntu ozawukubulela, usoloko ufuna mhlawumbi umntu aku-appreciate kububomi uba umenzele into inene, yho, abasekho abantu abanjeya. Uba uyamfumana umntu who constantly appreciate you for the work that you do, ayi mntasi ngothanda uba nzinyana. So xa usenza into, do it for you. Ungabe ulindele enkosi. Also, now looking at the signs and also the symptoms, we're going to be looking at the physical signs ngoba zikhona, i-emotional signs of i-burnout kwakunye ke zikhona ne-behavioral signs mhlawumbi wena uzuzicinga kanti ke zizo ezi. Looking at your physical signs, you're constantly feeling tired and drained most of the time. You've got your lowered immunity and you're frequently sick. Unale fever, manifiki, manieka. You constantly have your headaches and muscle pains, and suddenly i-sleeping habits zakho ziyatshintsha, as well as ne-appetite yakho ivele itshintshe. Qha ke sizawuthi yintoni? Hayi, ndiyagowa, or hayi khona nje into endihluphayo, I'll be fine, but it's actually a symptom as well as a sign that you are on the road to a burnout. Now, emotional signs. You've got a sense of failure and you've got self doubt. You're constantly looking down on yourself. You're feeling helpless. You're feeling trapped as well as defeated. And suddenly, kukola detachment feeling, you're feeling alone in this world, at a mntu who's there for you, and you're constantly feeling the feels of ba, akho mntu undithandayo, and you've got a loss of motivation. There's no need for you to suddenly, be excited about going to work or going to school each and every morning. It's a constant battle. Bangaba ke funeka uphakamile, A circular motivation is like, get up, go, let's go get this bread. You don't have that anymore, as well as increasingly cynical, and you've got this negative outlook when it comes to the world and when it comes to his needs. Also, the last emotional sign is that you've got a decreased satisfaction of the sense of accomplishment. Are you suffering from a burnout? Behavioral signs and symptoms. Isolating yourself from abantu, procrastinating or taking longer to get things done, especially when it comes to work. Like I mentioned, situation deals, or you're constantly motivated to keep working, to go look for things, to go onto the ground and find work, but suddenly also, you're using food, drugs, and alcohol to cope. Now, when we talking about drugs, so it could also be, ipilis, just to probably numb the pain, as you'd call it. Bekhona mhlambi la pilisi qho ungasikuyithathi noba ukho ntloko, but suddenly ungumntu uziva ngathi unentloko okanye uvele kube buhlungu apha umthambo, ukhawuleze ufuna uthatha ipilisi, kwenzela uba ngaba ke ube nala feeling uba dizi nje, uzokwazi ukusuka kule constant thinking of the stress that you have. Banye ke soloko besitya, and you find that now you're starting to gain weight. Also, taking out your frustrations on others. Yabona ke leyo yeyona nto ekusoloko ndizigada ngamaxesha onke uba ngaba ke ndingaze ndikhuphele nokuba yintoni na endihluphayo ngaphakathi kwabanye abantu. It's the thing of, having not to be able to make other people pay for other people's sins. Ingathi ngoku xa mhlambi kwenzeka into between you and a partner, making a quick example, or you're fighting, you find that no man, le nto silwelayo has nothing to do with me. It's like, now ndibhatalela izono zabanye abantu. That's when that other person is actually taking out your frustrations on others, which is something that you should never do. Never make other people pay for izinto ezenziwe ngabanye abantu. Don't do that. Another behavioral sign and symptom could be skipping work or coming in late and leaving early. You just want to be at home, you want to be alone, you're isolating yourself. Ufika late, you no longer have that, urge to come in and work really hard. And that is really another behavioral sign, I think, especially also kwabo ke basesikolweni who want to constantly skip classes. Now, there is also a difference between stress and burnout. Stress is characterized by over-engagement. Emotions are overreactive. You've got it produces of urgency and hyperactivity. You've got a loss of energy. Stress leads to anxiety disorders, as well as stress may kill you prematurely. Stress ke si dangerous. Andifuna uxoka. Sikuphatha kabuhlungu. Hayi nje kancinci, sikuthi chu ngamaxesha onke. And also, we have a burnout, which is actually characterized by, apologies, your disengagement, as well as emotions are quite blended, and there's a loss of motivation, ideas, as well as hope, and also it just leads you to moving and closer towards a depression, which is something that you really should run away from. So please make sure that if you've answered yes with majority of izinto besincokola ngazo namhlanje uba ngaba ke, are you really suffering from a burnout, make sure that you actually quickly do a self-introspection. Uve uba ngaba ke nyani na, are you really suffering from this burnout? It's really as understandable. We've come towards the end of the year. Sidiniwe emotionally and physically, and ingaske mhlambi sikwazi ukuyophumla sizokwazi ukuthatha amandla, wakulo nyaka uzayo. And I mean, I think one thing that also actually got me thinking about this topic this morning was actually a quote. I actually saw somebody writing namhlanje esithi ubangabake, in fact ingcukumezile esithi yena ubangabake, I've reached a burnout. My cup is empty and I've got nothing left to give anybody or even anything for the rest of the year. I'm one inconvenience away from a mental as well as an emotional breakdown. If you know me as well as the Nkobo Eater invasion, one thing we always constantly look out for and talk about, especially when we have guests, how do you look after your mental health, Yako? Because it is really, really important. Above all things, you must guard your heart. But we always say, above all things, yes, guard your heart, but also your mental health. Whatever happens, guard your peace. Protected because we find that, and then we find ourselves in these situations of being on the road of a burnout due to actually having this prolonged stress that we keep within. Release certain things or even letting go of certain things. And that is when we start to get sick emotionally as well as physically. Constantly feeling sick and or constantly having these muscle pains as well as these headaches so it's a stress that you do not want to release. So please make sure that you take care of yourself before umzimba wakho azokwazi ukukuxelela uba ngabake, no, it's time for you to take a break. Make sure that you drink lots of water, you exercise, you read, do something that makes you happy that you haven't done in a while so that you get excited once more again and you want to do things differently this time. So that is what a burnout is. And also, talk to somebody, especially when you're not feeling well, as well as reach out to those closest to you, such as your partner, your family, and your friends. And also, opening up won't make you a burden to others. In fact, most friends and loved ones will actually be flattered that you trust them enough, in fact, to confide in them. And I know personally that will definitely, definitely strengthen the relationship that you have. Also, be more sociable with your coworkers, developing friendships with people that can actually even help you, buffer from burnout. Now, you take a break instead of actually directing your attention, apologies, to your smartphone. Try engaging with abasebenzi bakho and even have, social events as khoyo emsebenzini, especially now. I know about the NDF functions ezininzi ke seziqhubekekile kwiindawo ezininzi. So talk, and make friends, as well as at the same time limit your contact with negative people. Hanging out with negative minded people who do nothing but complain will only drag your mood down and your outlook. If you have to work with a negative person, try to limit the amount of time that you spend with them. Oh, that's okay. No. Make sure that you definitely redirect your energy onto new things. Connect with a cause or even a community or even a group that is personally meaningful to you. And at the same time, find new friends, go out, be happy, and find that one thing that has been actually keeping you going for the rest of Lonyaka. On that note, at exactly 44 minutes after 2 o'clock, we have about 15 and a half till we actually take it to the third hour. It is almost time for me to call it a day. But just before we call it a day, that is Let's Drive with Ulutando Mnandi kwakunye noMislelu. And today on the invasion for hashtag Frank Talks, whereby we talk about anything and everything, the perfect platform to let out izindo that are definitely hindering us from actually prospering onto so much that we want to do in life, especially Sululu Changalala Klesha. Burnout. So make sure that you take care of yourself and constantly check in. And constantly, if you do not want to talk, constantly write things down. On that note, I thank you for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see what all the fuck is from the states of